Boy A1 DNA Bulldogs. I'm on my way to Miami. Shout out to everybody in Miami. We're gonna be taking a trip from Miami to Lisbon, Portugal to Manchester, United Kingdom. We're gonna be talking to some of the most influential, popular, and legit breeders out there, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll be checking in along the way. Peace. We're here in Portugal, about to board a flight to Manchester. Early grind, let's get it. I'm here with one of the most influential breeders in the UK. His name is Junior Obeng. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come here and interview you and chat with you. Really appreciate that. Let's get right to it. Cool. I want to ask you a couple of questions about your background. So where are you originally from?
Yeah, just a small town really, about 25 minutes away from here, called Mosside. Quite an underprivileged town. But it's growing now, yeah. It's not too far away from here in Manchester, yeah.
Cool. What was the first dog that you ever bred?
The first dog that I bred was a Staffordshire Bull Terrier called Lacey. Yeah, she was a nice dog, brindle dog.
Did you like the outcome of the first breeding?
Yeah, it was a good old breeding. I bought a boy called Lucifer, and I was breeding really to produce a brindle dog, and a boy called Shadow that I made. Yeah, I had 5 in the litter. 3 girls and 2 boys, and one of the boys was a brindle, yeah. Yeah, so nice. I was happy. It was a good old breeding.
What actually inspired you to get into breeding?
The first step of my Frenchie breeding really was, I've always loved dogs, but it was my son, and he was going a bit down the wrong road, so I decided to get him a couple of dogs to try and keep him out of the miver. And yeah, that was generally how I got involved with the breeding.
Is that the son that I saw that can sing?
No, my eldest son, he's a good boy, yeah. You know, my eldest son, yeah.
He's got talent.
He has, yeah. He's a bit of a singer, a good old kid he is, yeah, thank you.
Is there any person in particular that inspired you to breed?
Yeah, when I first started breeding and I was looking at all the guys who was involved, like a few of the big names, Adam Tadgell, I suppose he was probably the main guy who I started watching. I wasn't really a social media person, and I got on Snapchat. And I added him. I'd been talking to him for a little minute. He was a good guy, and I thought, yeah, you know what? Like, let's have a look what this guy does. And when I was watching him on a day-to-day, I was thinking, like, wow, like this guy's involved in dogs. Like, I'd love to do that. Do you know? And I tell you the truth, the guy inspired me massively. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Adam Tadgell. Yeah, he's a good guy from Wales.
Nice. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. There's always somebody that like myself as a new breeder. I look up to people like you. So if somebody in the future asks me this question, I could say, well, Junior Obeng was one of the people that inspired me. I saw the way that he moved, the way that he was doing things, and I said, you know what, I got to get into what this guy's doing.
Wow, thank you.
So why Frenchies and bullies?
Frenchies, really. Like I say, it was my son's choice, and so I went ahead with the Frenchies, and it was like I fell in love with the breed. Because I just done a lot of research, basically, and it's like, the more I researched, the more I thought, wow, this is like an amazing breed. And then the bullies, obviously, 18 months on, from when I first started, it was more of like a business opportunity. Alongside the dogs, I thought, like, there's a gap in the UK for this type of dog. So that's sort of why I bought Freaky, yeah.
So speaking about bullies, my understanding is that that's something new here in the UK, or is starting to come up.
Yeah.
What do you think about the bully game here in the UK?
Well, there's been a quite a substantial amount of pockets and standards and XLs for like 2 or 3 years now. There's a few lads in Manchester, Thomas Raymond being one of them, who's like got quite a successful program running, but it's fairly new to the UK, so it's just starting now to pop over here, where you guys I fully took that to another level. So yeah.
So you're jumping into that game in a time where it's starting to boom.
Yeah. We're just playing catch up. Like I've been here at the very beginning. Really, we're buying Freaky over a year ago. Now people are just thinking like, what are these dogs, these exotics? And it's question after question that I'm answering. And yeah, it's just starting out now.
Are you a full-time breeder, or do you have any other career that you do?
Yeah, well, I breed full time. I've got a couple of other businesses alongside that, but when like it's just full time care, like breeding. If you've got one dog, then it's technically a pet. You can be breeding it, but technically it's a pet. But when you've got, like, for instance, as you've seen, 5 dogs in your kitchen, a couple of dogs out back, it's like it's a full time job. You know, you're committed. You're in. You're in.
Gotcha. Who's that?
Don on the window. They can hear me talking. All right, son.
I know that you have you work with chains for the dogs and stuff like that. I think they're called
chunky chains.
Chunky chains. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, chunky chains. Well, it all started really as a bit of a joke. I'm not gonna lie. I bought Don a chain when he was like 5 months old from one of the bigger companies in Canada, Big Dog Chains. I paid a small fortune for it. I think I paid like £600-700 in total to get it here for just a chain and a lead. And my friend was like, "Wow, you're crazy! Like, why have you paid so much money?" I was like, "Oh, it's my dog. You know, like I paid a lot of money for him, so it just seems right to get him this." And then he was like, "Well, I can get them made for cheaper than that." And then one thing led to another, and before we knew it, there was a company started. Yeah.
Nice. I gotta get one for my puppy.
Yeah. No, I'll hook you up, bro.
All right, so let's get into the Isabella. This is something that for a lot of, in the UK is something that's very spoken about. In the US, people are just starting to catch up to it. So when they say an Isabella Frenchie, what is that? What does that mean?
So yeah, the Isabella. So a full Isabella technically is 2 shades of testable chocolate. So it carries 2 shades and 2 shades of blue. Let's say for the lilac Isabella. So the word Isabella, there's a few stories of where it come from, but basically it's the colour purple. We're going down that line, so it's anything that looks towards that colour, even though the Isabella is more of a gold colour. But in theory, that's what it is all about.
Do you have any idea where that colour came from?
Originally, I can only assume, like we all do, like it's come from the Bulldog breed, the Bulldog side of the breeding of the actual French Bulldog. So when the original breedings must have went down, the testable chocolate's just been filtered throughout the system, and then it's just come back around years and years after.
Is there anybody that we can give credit to for bringing that into the breed or starting the trend?
Not really, truthfully. Not really. There's like, they're all over the world. So, some people take them for granted. I know these countries where there's loads of them and it's just the standard dog. They don't even, but where we are and it's sort of a marketing world, like I'm probably one of the forefront people with Diego. And a lad from Liverpool called Vinny, who started actually pushing the Isabellas. So it was seen as the biggest breeders in the UK. Like, why are they pushing these dogs? Like, and then everyone sort of was like, oh, wait a minute, they're a different colour. And obviously different's always good and new's always good. So yeah, that's sort of how it's taken off, yeah.
One thing I want to add to that there, from my personal experience, I see most of the Isabella carriers or testable chocolate carriers seem to have like a nose or a longer nose. Not so with your dogs. All your dogs seem to have good structure. Is there a reason why?
Well, to be honest, yeah, it's like a lot of people are playing catch up. So technically, they'll do whatever it takes to get there, and like everybody's different though. Like I'm lucky enough to have like my own program running, but some people are not that lucky, so they have to search elsewhere in order to try and bring the gene in, and then it just doesn't really go to plan. You know, you can get the genes from all sorts of other types of dogs, but when you start running a program in and out, it just obviously it creates long muzzles and so on and so forth. It's just one of them things really that you have to iron out.
I want to congratulate you on that, man, because like out of all the dogs that I've seen in the UK, you seem to have the most well-structured dogs in the Isabella game.
Thank you very much.
That's my personal opinion, at least.
You.
Now, when everybody posts a dog now, Isabella, they talk about new shade. What do they mean when they say new shade?
So new shade, right? So when Miss Perfect was born, obviously she was the first new shade dog in the world, and everyone was asking
Is
me,
that
like,
is that one of your dogs?
yeah, she's
Okay.
one of my dogs. She's about 13, 14 months old now, and when she was born, everyone was like, "Oh, you need to find like a new name for Chocolate." And I won't lie, I sat and thought about it and I wrapped my brains, and there's just all the names are already there. So it was like, right, this is the new shade, because basically it was different from testable chocolate. It was different from non-testable chocolate. So it just seemed right to call it the new shade. So when it's diluted with 4 copies of chocolate, whether it be a lilac, a chocolate, or whatever the colour, it's generally a different shade. So it just seemed right to run with it, and it's just sort of taken off from there, yeah. That's what we mean by new shade.
And I guess this could be a personal thing. What do you think are the best combinations of DNA that you can have? Like, for example, I have a lilac and tan testable chocolate carrier. I'm guessing if she's a lilac, she would automatically have the 2 copies of.
That's correct, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, what do you recommend, I guess, if I want to put a stud to her, that I look for in that stud?
Well, now
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention she does carry cream.
Right,
we talked about that. So what do you recommend?
Yeah, well, the direction everybody's traveling in, it would just always make sense to put it on a new shade producer. So the dog that you was to match her with would have to carry both chocolates. It would just make sense. If it didn't, it'd sort of be, unless you was heading for the structure side of it, it would just make sense to run with the 2 shades of chocolate.
So now, if I put her to a carrier, right, not a fully Isabella, would they produce full Isabellas?
Yeah, they would produce full new shades.
Full new shades.
Yeah. Unless the chocolate doesn't fall. So if it carried one copy
only.
Yeah, you see.
Gotcha.
So if it falls, it can be a new shade, or if not, then it's an Isabella. So.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about what the female and the male brings to their puppies. So what can you say? More or less what DNA will pass down from a female or a male in a breeding into the puppy?
So basically it's just 50-50, like it's sort of up to the DNA gods. Like what I will say is, like, a male doesn't determine how many puppies like they're gonna have, that's generally on the female. The male determines the sex. So I know, like, a lot of people say, oh yeah, my boy, like, he went and had 10 puppies. Well, that was sort of down to the female. So, but regarding DNA, it's just a 50-50 mix, really, of what's going to be passed. So if there's 2 copies, we can assume the dog will get a copy every time. Whereas if the mum or the dad only have 1 copy or something, then it's on a 50-50 pattern, what we say.
And so, for example, if a female is a testable carrier and the male is not, can I expect any of the puppies to carry the gene?
Yeah. So you could expect, let's say, half a litter, but it's up to the DNA gods. You could have a full litter of them, but then you might not get any, that does happen.
So it doesn't matter if it's the boy or the female?
No.
You're going to still get some puppies that carry it as well?
Technically, yeah, I say, but it's up to the DNA gods. It's not 100%, but
right.
What I've noticed over, say, 50 breedings, generally it'll be half and half. It'll work out both sides. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about litters. A lot of people, when they have a litter, they find a puppy that they like and they say, this is my keeper. What do you think people look for, or what do you look for? Is it would you prefer a boy or a girl, or what would you call a keeper in a litter that you have?
That's really depending on the direction of your program. Personally, I'd say like my keepers are something what's going to enhance my program. Like I wouldn't just keep a dog for the sake of keeping it, thinking, oh, I'll just increase my numbers. In the beginning, I had to, because I had to pick from what I had. But now it's like, if the dog's not really up to scratch, then you're just using it for something in the program. Or if you don't, then it'll be like as a pet sale or as a normal sale. So yeah, it's basically what will help you in your direction you're going for your program.
So it's more of a personal thing.
It's a personal thing,
what you're looking for.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into breeding. I want you to tell me what your thoughts are on doing AI versus surgical versus natural. Can a Frenchie be bred naturally?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, I've had a couple of dogs lock. Yeah, but generally, because of the size difference in all the dogs. A lot of the males can't reach the back of the females because they've got higher back ends, so it just makes it a little bit difficult for the naturals really to go ahead all the time. Me personally, I wouldn't mate any of my boys naturally for the simple reason, like doing natural matings, they can contract certain infectious diseases, which obviously then puts my boy off the market. So preference wise, I just wouldn't. I stick to the AIs.
And my understanding is in the UK, the surgical is illegal here, right?
Yeah, only just say maybe 10 months ago or so, yeah.
It's something new to me because like I'm used to everybody doing surgicals, AI, C-sections. So when I heard that, there's two things that I heard for the first time when I came out here. One of them was the natural whelping,
Yeah.
and the other one was that surgicals were illegal here. So that brought a new perspective to me. Like, wow, you can actually breed a dog on an AI and have them whelp naturally.
Yeah.
But what's your preferred method of going about it?
Well, now it's changed all the time. At first, because of what I heard, it was like, oh, C-section, you've got to have a C-section. But then it was certain dogs that had started giving birth at, say, 3 a.m. We wasn't able to get to the C-section, so, like, I'm letting it run. And then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. They're coming out here, so, like, and then boom, the full litters come out. Then it was like, well, I just believe, like, some people say C-section, C-section, C-section for the sole reason, like, puppies are very expensive. So if you lose one puppy, like, let's just say, for instance, you got a full litter of lilac and tan merles. It's like people don't really want to take the chance of losing a dog. So they opt for the C-section. It's the safest preferred way. But like there's other complications and risks of C-sections, which we all know. So it's like, me personally now, what I do is like I let it run its course. If the bitch is struggling or I sense the bitch is struggling, then I take her for an emergency C-section. So that's sort of how I do it now, yeah.
What's your thoughts on back-to-back breeding?
There's two ways to look at it, really. Me personally, I don't really do back-to-back breedings for the simple reason I've got like quite a lot of dogs. It's kind of frowned upon in the UK, to be honest. But I understand certain people in their programs, they have to do back-to-back breedings in order to get where they want to go. So again, it's more of a preference thing. It's like, me personally though, I'd rather give it a little gap.
And what about the first heat breeding? What are your thoughts on that?
Same again, like anything over 12 months in the UK is technically illegal breeding. So if your bitch doesn't come in season till say 13, 14 months and your bitch looks well developed, like go ahead and do the breeding. They say it's okay. If she's underdeveloped, then it's like, it's on the person, like if they can see that the dog's well developed and she's going to carry the pups well and everything's going to go great, then yeah, crack on. But if not, then I'd suggest you sort of give it a little bit of time.
And I'm sure at that point, a vet can also give feedback on the dog's health if they look like they're healthy enough to be able to get that done, or should be wait.
I'd say it was more the development of the dog, like the structure, the size, whether it's full developed. Because if it's still in its adolescent state, then it's like you shouldn't really be mating it. But if the dog's having a season, then the Lord says it's ready. It's like I say, it's preference.
When do you think a dog should be retired from breeding? Let's start with a female.
Me personally, 2 litters and then the dog's retired.
2 litters and that's it.
No matter what, yeah. Like I know you can have more. I think it's 3 or 4 litters in the UK. I'm not 100%, but I've never done that many. Like, but I understand. Like again, it's on the person. If you've only got one dog and you spread these litters out over a good length of time, then again, I don't see the issue. If you're happy to have 4 litters or 3 litters, whatever you're allowed to do over a good. But I wouldn't suggest like back to back in loads of litters, like it, because that's just like sort of puppy farming.
Right, and one of the reasons why I'm doing this, I also want breeders to be educated on the right things to do. So we definitely want to encourage people to give the dogs a good life and and try to shorten the period of time that they're breeding. So I appreciate your feedback there.
Yeah.
And then what's your thoughts on a male when she should be retired?
There's all sort of different theories. Like, if a dog, for instance, the way I did it with Brutus, like I retired him at such a young age for the sole purposes of he's had enough meetings now. I want to like close the gene pool for now. Like, who says he might come back out of retirement? Like, there's no specifics that says he can't. So it's on the person. Like, if you feel your dog should retire, it's done its job, then like retire your dog, you know. But I wouldn't like work my dog for 10 years because it's like, I believe Brutus has done his job, you know. Like, he's here. He can never be erased. He started something that is going to be remembered forever in the French Bulldog world. So
Yeah, I mean, definitely from from the U.S., a lot of people talk about him over there. I see him all over the place. I see puppies from him all over the place
Yeah.
that they all look great.
yeah,
So
amazing.
definitely an icon there.
Yeah, it's an honor to own him.
Now let's talk about passion. Day by day, when you work with the dogs, I know it's something that's difficult to do, not the easiest thing to do. What keeps you going? What's that thing that puts a smile on your face when you're working with the dogs?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things, like obviously waking up in the mornings and doing your job every day. It's not easy doing anything, but what I will say, it's a lot easier being around dogs. There's no like negative energy. But the main drive, really thinking about it now, is like where my program's going, like the end goal, like what I want to produce, the dog. I just want to sit back and think, right, I've produced a full litter of dogs that are all of the same dynamics and structure. Like, because French Bulldogs, what I've noticed with all the different DNA pools, all the breedings are very sporadic. So these long dogs, tall dogs, short dogs, like loads of dogs of different colours in all the litters. So, but if you look at the standard breedings, so you're breeding, let's say, a fawn and a fawn both together, or a brindle, two brindles. Like, the dogs look very similar size, stature. But I just want to say, let's just say, for instance, produce a full litter of new shades, and you just look at them and they're almost identical. That's the stage I want to be getting to of a good structured dog. So that's the drive and the goal, really, that keeps me waking up in the mornings to pick up shit.
So every day you think about, what can I do to make this better?
Yeah,
what can I do? What direction am I going to take this to? And
Yeah,
what gives you the
definitely.
passion.
That's the drive.
Makes sense. So let's talk about nutrition. What does Junior Obeng feed his dogs?
Solely raw food now. I've been through quite a lot of foods, dry kibbles. I've tried doing the feeds myself, but now I just stick to a raw food diet, which is a complete meal with a big long list of ingredients, and I don't seem to get any health issues at all now. So yeah, I've got to sort of stick with, they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
And something that I want to bring up for the people watching this, it is expensive to feed dogs raw. We were talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
All the health issues that you can avoid by feeding raw, probably in the long run, you end up wasting less money than if you feed them cheap food, and you're going to have to deal with all sorts of complications and vet visits that
Most
you
definitely.
don't. So at the end of the day, that all works out. Do you have any tips for people? A lot of people all the time, new pet owners, are asking, what can I do for my tear stains? Like that one in specific. What do you recommend for tear stains?
Yeah. Well, there's obviously a lot of marketed products that you can use. But one thing I will say, if you can filter the water that the dogs are drinking to the best, alkaline water I think works well. I don't know if you guys can get that over there, but yeah, alkaline water works well for tear stains. It's generally something in the water what produces quite bad stains.
And then what about hair loss, allergies, ear infections? What do you recommend? Is there any kind of product that people can put on their dogs to help with that, aside of the good nutrition?
Yeah, there's like, obviously there's ones you can get off your vet, but they generally become quite expensive, and over long periods of time you have to use them. But then there's some like just products that you can order on the internet. I think, what's it called? Stinky stuff, is it?
Stinky stuff,
Yeah.
Stinky stuff.
Yeah.
Something that I'm gonna have to look for.
Yeah.
I'll do some research on it and maybe do another episode talking about that. All right, now so let's talk about puppies. When you had puppies, I want to talk about experiences that you went through. First, let's talk about something that you remember, like a negative experience, where something that happened in your breeding, and you said, "Oh my God, if I would have done this, maybe I could have saved a puppy, or I could have had a better outcome in my puppies."
Yeah, in hindsight, looking back now, like one of my first litters, when Brutus was born, one of his brothers that was born in the litter, it carried cream, and it was the biggest dog, and it just fed a lot, and I was noticing it, but I just didn't know at the time, and there was like milk coming from the nose, and I generally just just wiped the nose so the milk was gone. But what I didn't understand at the time was because he was like a little bit hungry and overfeeding as such, he was sort of spitting fluid back into his lungs, the milk back into his lungs, and I started to hear the raspiness when he was breathing, but I wasn't aware of the signs then, and he went onto his lungs and he got pneumonia, and yeah, the pup passed. And then obviously, like, I was phoning around, like, oh, what's going on? And then obviously you speak to other people who know, and it's like, oh, this is what's happened. So like now knowing that, yeah, that's like one of the biggest things that I look back on and just regret a little bit.
And I'm sure nobody was born knowing. Everybody had their first couple of experiences, and you have to learn as you go. So it's good that you have that feedback to give other people and help them in their first endeavors. Now let's bring the opposite. Tell me a positive experience that you had with puppies, where something that you were able to save a puppy's life or something like that, and okay, I can start doing this from now on, and it'll help the puppies.
Yeah, well, obviously after a few litters in, and you start learning things by experience. Some of the puppies in one of my litters that was born was sort of stillborn, and the mum didn't even give like too much care for it. So I've opened the sacks and used a technique called whipping, generally like holding the dog's head in your thumb and forefinger and whipping it down with a certain motion. Give it a little bit of a rub. Got the dog. Brought the dog back to life, and it was like, right, okay, yeah, like, so this actually does work. It was something that I'd researched just so I didn't really get caught out in the moment. And yeah, when it worked, and then it was like, right, okay, yeah, I'll run with this. So now if I'm on a litter and the dogs are born, that's generally straight away what we do. We warm them up, whip them, clear the airways, just give them a little kickstart really to life.
Great. Yeah, no, that's something great to hear. Always good to have tactics and help people with their puppies so they know what to do when they come into a situation like that. Now, let's talk about people that are going to buy a dog. Say somebody's going to buy a pet. What advice do you give them on what to do to protect themselves and get the right dog?
First of all, like you'll see a dog, it's the first thing you look at the dog, and then really what you should do is a couple of background checks on the breeder just to make sure that everything is up and above board and it is what it seems to be and it's a real person. Because I've had experiences myself when I've sent money to China and then the account's just gone down and boom, it's like, where's my money gone? It's untraceable. So yeah, just do as much background checking on the breeder, just make sure everything's all right. Ask questions publicly on forums, where Facebook or the social media platforms, and generally people will say, oh yeah, he's a good breeder or he's a bad breeder, or you'll generally get like an overview of who they are. So, and then once you want to start doing checks about the puppy, it's like try and find out who the mum and dad is, maybe the nana and granddad, to get kind of an idea, so you can get some pictures, to see what that puppy's going to be looking like when it gets a little bit older, really.
Great. And if you were looking for a bitch to breed, what would you look for to make sure that you got the correct bitch?
Generally, it'll be on preference once again. So, for instance, if I've got big dogs in my program and I want to shorten the size of my dogs in my program, I try and buy, for instance, a micro dog. Or if it was the other way around, I'd try and buy a bigger dog to try and strengthen up my program. But it's totally on preference. It's whatever you need for where you're going. You need to try and buy something that will suit your own program. Everyone's programs are running different. So.
And what about if you're buying a puppy for a stud?
It's a very difficult act to do that, to be honest with you. But you need to do a lot of research into the background of the parents and grandparents of the dog, and just to check really because it's got to be correct. If everybody's going to use this dog, it's got to. Some dogs can just be DNA dogs. Let's be honest about it. Like sometimes we have to chase the DNA as well as structure. Then we run programs alongside each other to try and meet in the middle. So, but yeah, I definitely go into a lot of the background with the males just to see what they're going to be and who they're going to be like. Okay.
Please tell everybody how they can find you in the social media, how they can get to Junior Obeng to maybe do some business with you.
Yeah, just Junior Obeng on Facebook, Bull Boss Kennels on Instagram. Or Chunky Chains Limited on Instagram, yeah, or Snapchat Don Frenchies.
I look forward to talking to you again in the future and to see how your program develops. And I obviously wish you the best on everything that you do.
Thank you very much. It's an honour having you here. Thank you very much. You've travelled so far.
Thank you, my friend.
My name's Junior Obeng, and I'm an official legit breeder from Manchester, England, the UK. A big shout out to the Breeders Network. Also another big shout out to A1 DNA Bulldogs. We'll start off with Don. This is one of the first guys who were bought. So I didn't breed this guy. I just fell in love with him, made me fall in love with the Frenchies, my best mate. And then we have to introduce after that is Brutus.
The main man.
The main man himself, who everyone talks about.
Brutus.
And he's got a bit of a mad personality. He's just like, he's just a simple guy, you know. He's not. He loves walking. He's just everything at a slow pace, whereas he's all erratic. And then we've got these two guys, the Lilac and Tan here. This is Kwame. He's from the Checkmate Alliance, cross Brutus. And
he's a Brutus son?
Yeah, he's a Brutus son. And then we've got his half brother next to him, Junior, who's a new shade, chocolate and tan. The first born in the world, bro. Yeah, the first boy born in the world. He's not long been working. Active, just ready to start doing a few matings.